in the meantime. Compliments of Ty Hudnall. Quantum Resonance Institute. Musical Savant. Let's see here. Jessica Black is in the house from Chicago. What part of Chicago are you in?
So I'm in the south, not the south suburbs, like the western, I guess you could say.
Like
suburbs.
Carroll Stream? Like that area?
No, so I'm more south from Carroll Stream. I'm down in Naperville.
Oh, I know where
like
that is.
45 minutes.
Yeah, I know where
Yeah.
Naperville is. Yeah, that's a big town, big suburb. Yeah, Chicago was cool. I was 36 years old. It's the first time I ever saw real snow. I was upstairs in
when
my
you
office.
were 36 of your first time.
Yeah, real snow. I mean, not ice. I mean, like real snow. I was on the second floor of. I was in a 2-story building. That's where my office was. It was an old Sears building on Harlem and North, on the corner of Harlem and North. Real old. And anyway, I had the whole upstairs, and I used to work late, and it was nighttime, and I had my window open, and all of a sudden these big flakes just started floating in the room. It was trippy. It was crazy. It was crazy. And then I got in the truck because I had a truck. I came up from Texas. I brought my truck, and so I was all excited. I thought, I'm gonna go to the casino. I'm gonna go to the boat and look at the snow. And I went to the first intersection, and I was in the left lane, and there was snow just everywhere. It was just powder. And I went into the intersection and turned left, and I just started spinning in the middle of the road. And everybody's just looking at me like, you dumbass, he's from Texas.
Yes! I can totally relate to that. I mean, I've lived here 6 years, but I grew up in Texas.
Did you really?
I'm from Houston, Texas.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm from Bel Air.
Bel Air.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. See, I came over to Sharpstown when I was in 5th grade. Back when Bel Air and Sharpstown. Like,
that makes me laugh. Yeah. I'm familiar. When I got kicked out of high school, out of Bel Air High School.
Everybody can hear your conversation. Maybe.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry. I'm loud.
oh, okay. Let's be quiet.
Okay. I got kicked out of Bel Air High School, and they sent me to the disciplinary school called CEP in Sharpstown.
Oh, yeah. Houston's a wild place, full of energy. So, yeah, we got Jessica Black is in the house. We got 28 people in the house. Let me just give a couple of quick announcements. Tomorrow, we're going to have a show, and it's going to be at, let me see, 2 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be called the Soulogy Network Sneak Peek. So I'm gonna take people on the screen share, and I'm going to show them what it looks like, and talk about it a little bit. So that's going to be at 2 o'clock. That's going to be 6 p.m. UK, and about 5 a.m. in Brisbane. So yeah, that'll be it. And we'll have a big announcement too. We'll have a few, but we'll have one really big one. And then tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, Ty Hudnall is going to take us through a Pluto in Aquarius broadcast. I have no idea what he has in mind, but I'm sure it's going to be pretty awesome. All right. And other than that, we got like 255 people in the networking community. And thank you, everybody, for that. And it's going to be a lot of exciting stuff we're going to discuss tomorrow. And I'm just going to try to keep my mouth shut about it. Jessica Black, it's good to have you in the house. I saw you pop up in the field. I don't know. It was probably about a few weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago. And you came up like a rocket. You're like, blam! And then I noticed the company that you kept. with the comments that you exchange with the people. So I kind of get your ilk. You know, your Elsa, Kate, a few others. So I know you're acceptable to those weirdos, so you'll be acceptable to this weirdo. But
Yeah.
welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's I've been watching Soulogy for about a year now, um, and we're all psychedelic sheep, rainbow sheep.
Hmm.
Um, you know, at least for me in my experience, finding true friendship and people I can resonate with and laugh with, um, in that deep way, like an inside joke almost, is what it feels like when I get to commune with you guys through these shows and online. And so the past year, being introduced to Soulogy by a friend, Barb, that I was able to meet at a sound bath, a local like sound vibration therapy event that was held through a friend. Uh, she offhand mentioned the show, and ever since then I was hooked. It just felt like, and is a huge remembering for me, uh, a huge homecoming. Uh, as one of those people who just has, like all of us, has never fit in, or felt like I fit in. Just the information and codex I'm receiving from each show, which is, you know, I'm divinely picking the right show to watch. I kind of call it Soulogy roulette, where I'll I'll go on YouTube and then I'll ask my higher self, which episode do I need right now, and then I'll scroll, bam, I'll hit it, and it never ceases to amaze me how it is the exact thing I need to hear in that moment, and it's always something um, I can take into my life and utilize. It's not just vague concepts or things like that. It's really people have alchemized, their own codes and are sharing something we can work with. And I see um, the huge impact that has on my life. And so yeah, I'm super excited to be a part of this community, and
Hmm.
I'm just really grateful.
Wow, that's heartfelt and yeah. You know, you can feel the truth frequency these days. But and
Hmm.
I mean, when this all started in 2012, the vast majority of these, so I'll just talk Soulgy. I mean, was 80, no, 90% female from 45 and up, maybe 40 and up. And now it's, after all these years, it's changed so much. So a lot of young energies coming in, um, like you.
Hmm.
You mentioned a sound bath there in Chicago? Do you find people like you in Chicago?
Mm, yes and no. Um, you know, I feel I can relate to everyone and have a great experience, and be able to work with anyone's energy, but finding people who are multidimensional and aware of that, working with the energies that are coming in now, and have been doing this for a while, I would say no. Um, Barb, the lovely friend who introduced me to this show, was actually, I would say, the first no, second person I've met out here that's on that vibrational level. Um, yeah, that can speak the unspeakable language. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I hadn't really experienced telepathy or telepathic experiences with any close friends besides one other individual whose sound bath we happened to meet at. Yeah, we were at his sound bath, but yeah, before meeting her and being introduced to like Moira Boldini, who's been on the show
Oh,
before. She lives
Mora.
out here as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lady Moira Davis
Yeah. Did
Singer.
you? Yeah. Did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
I stayed at their house in Oklahoma City a couple of months ago.
Oh,
Did you?
cool.
Did you know
Yeah.
her? Had you met her already in Chicago, or you met her through Soulogy?
No. Yeah, I hadn't met her before. And it turns out that she actually lived just a few miles from me, and I had been here for 6 years.
That's crazy.
Uh,
That's crazy.
yeah, and we met through Barb, and she had a beautiful um, temple of creation, a space that she was creating in and living in North Aurora. It's about 30 minutes from me. And she held an event, like a small group of women and one gentleman, it was David, where she shared her light codes and her transmission and
yeah.
drawing that
Yeah.
came through
Yeah.
her when she went.
I've seen
Yeah,
some.
you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. She's powerful.
Really
She's
powerful.
powerful. They're a powerful couple. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so so did your multidimensionality just start really kicking up, or was it always with you? I mean, like, did you have like a wake up experience?
I would say the past 6 months has been a reawakening. Uh, I I could say my one human Jessica Black lifetime contains 15 like miniature lifetimes within, and there are 2 points in my life where I had awakenings of a smaller nature or like not a full awakening, but the first one being living in Houston and coming off of, I was addicted to drugs.
Right.
So, like many of us in our forgetting and the rejection, right, and not being understood, we go into these dark roads, addictive paths, and especially growing up in an environment where that was just what everyone was doing
Yeah.
at the time. So I definitely got caught up with that and had a reawakening in 2012,
Mm.
coming off of the pharmaceuticals and then moving into a period where then I was having an emotional awakening to the depth of my sensitivity, and I was awakened to that depth through experiencing a relationship that yeah, it was just really hard for me. It was one of those empath narcissist type of dynamics uh, that I'm super grateful for, because had I not been through that, uh, yeah, I wouldn't have realized kind of the blind spots and everything that were looked over after coming off of the drugs and reawakening to like my physical human. Um, yeah, I think it was just the unpeeling of the onion, and I've taken my time. It feels like because this last reawakening, which I would consider beginning in 2020 and still continuing now, is the cosmic reawakening. And I wasn't aware or privy to any of this, I would say, until having a friendship with Barb and being introduced to Soulogy and being shown, like, one of the first times I hung out with Barb, we were sitting at a lake and the energy was beautiful. We were sitting there and just kind of closing our eyes and enjoying the way everything was feeling. And she began toning, and our eyes were like looking up. They were like set up. And I felt her like put her phone out. Like I felt like she was perhaps like videoing, making a video. And that was confirmed after we sat for quite a while. I don't know how long. Afterwards, she took her phone out and showed me what she had videoed while we were just sitting there. I don't know what you would call it, going into dimension. And yeah, so that was the first time I was able to see physically with my physical eyes energies outside of me that I could directly identify as me and as her. And
Wow.
she was able to show me in that moment. And there wasn't many words, and there, never really is with her and I, or many of us, right? English, like what is English? She was showing me what we were doing and what that was.
Wow.
And from that point, everything has changed for me, Todd. Everything. Um, yeah,
Now, how long
yeah,
ago was
because
this?
now,
How long ago
oh,
was this?
sorry, what?
How long ago? How long ago was this? A couple of years?
That was 6 months ago. Oh,
Wow. See, what I find fascinating is that you know what I mean. I guess you could say it like this. I know people that woke up and were getting ascension downloads in the '60s. We've had people on the show in the '60s, '70s, a lot in the '80s, a lot in the '90s. Um, but the consciousness, the awareness is at such a point now that somebody can get that reawakening that you're talking about, or even an awakening, because I've met very high frequency people on this show that might have woke up 3 years ago. And what I'm trying to say is the energy is such that if you're really present with yourself, um, you can come up to speed immediately. You can tap into all the living library information, and you can get to the same level as everyone on the front end of the wave. You know.
mhm. Oh yeah, and that's what it felt like, Todd. It it was a lot, right? A lot of information at a very
Mm.
high speed, and I was very consciously aware of that, and also aware that I didn't consciously have much context for that, right? As far as interdimensionals and different races, and all of those things came into my experience so
Wow.
very quickly after being introduced to this consciousness of, and
Yeah.
I attribute it to Soulogy. Because of the timing of everything there, and it makes me smile because it's the most home frequency I've ever felt, and the most flow and joy is when I'm um, fully expressing my multidimensionality and making the conscious connection of when I'm doing that and how I'm doing that, and how, and seeing real time and learning real time is the most important thing, because like you're saying, it's like this is all so new to me, you know.
It's new
it's
to
it's
everybody.
it's learning, and it just brings me joy because it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what we're capable of.
Yeah.
And I've always known that. And I've been that person who some people used to call me like a Pollyanna. Uh, I've always been very positive, naturally,
Mm-hmm.
very positive and forward thinking. And uh, yeah, this is our time. And I can really feel that. And as I'm learning more every day and every moment, um, it's just great to have a community to do this with. And we're all learning so much from each other. Uh, it's unreal.
Yeah. True. And learning to express ourselves. So you mentioned species, star family, extra, and interdimensional and terrestrial. I mean, it
Mm.
sounds like that you had a whole bunch of people come through the gate when you had this once you had this situation happen. What was that like? Because I mean, it's different for everybody, and it sounds like
Mhm.
yours was pretty various in terms of the energies and pretty intense. We might be able to learn something.
Yeah. Well, let's see. So, after I was first introduced to the fact that any of this even is a thing, I began having a very specific frequency telling me to do things, right? And it wasn't my higher self. I'm aware of that frequency uh, because I have been meditating, since I became sober in Houston. That's when I learned to meditate and get quiet with myself. And so I have been meditating quite a while. So I'm able to drop in and identify, which signatures are which. So what I'm getting at is this was something completely new, right?
Okay.
And it's telling me go to this specific wood right now. Go drive. Just go drive and sing. Specific instructions. Drive and sing. Or they would come through certain songs. So like I would be talking with someone and that same signature would come through and it would be a song, and then I would look up and have the coinciding, message on the license plate in front of me. And it was always the same exact signature. And so I just was kind of doing things, right, that I didn't know. And this is what a lot of us experience, just doing things. You're like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And trusting that it was benevolent and for the good of all and the harm of none. And it felt great, I'm a stunt woman, so I love adventure. And this felt like kind of like how the stunt in the film industry excited me, where we would kind of be on call waiting for who knows what type of job, you know. But we knew it was going to be something exciting and fun, and I felt that energy coming through after I was introduced to this interdimensionality. And it started getting pretty weird after a while, because at first it felt like I was just doing grid work, which for the past couple of years, I stopped working in film and TV because I didn't get the vaccine or whatever. So I have been doing like many different things. The main thing that I've been doing is going out into nature. And Julie Dara Roberts introduced me to the term of what it is, geomancing,
Right.
and working with the grid. Yeah, and what a friend. I love her. Um, but, and I'm going on, but what I'm getting at is, I, after a while of doing these kind of blind missions, right, just doing things, I was able to start connecting them, um, similar to the synchronicities, because I'm a person who, and where everything's always synchronizing. It's just, are we noticing it, is what I'm finding. And I'm a person who's able to connect them and see them pretty quickly, um, at least to make sense in my own experience. And I began noticing the multi-dimensional synchronicities that were happening with these mini missions, right? Um, a pretty cool one that happened that has to do with our friend Moira, um, that is, I think, is interesting enough to mention, is the fact that I didn't realize she had lived a few miles away from me for years and years and years. And we ended up meeting, and she had a creatrix group at her home, and it was lovely, and she shared her codes, and I have never had someone's artwork blow me away physically, like my body pushed back, like I fell backwards when I saw her art. And I knew in that moment it was an activation of a very, yeah, high degree creatively. So anyway, what I'm getting at is, with the synchronicities and coming into these realizations of the connections between the 8 causal events on these missions, one of which she had her group, and it turns out she was moving. So she was going to be moving to Oklahoma, right, that next week. And I was called to go to Knock Knolls. It's a woods that's right by me, a couple of miles from me. And I go out there, and I'm walking, and I had been working there before, working with the water and the land, and many bizarre experiences with deer and painted rocks. I found several orange painted rocks in these woods. But I get there, and was I texting with her? No. I was just walking and following orders, right? I'm walking, and I look to my left, and I see a collar, like a dog collar, hanging on a tree. Um, and I noticed her address on it. Like, I remembered her address from going to her house, and I saw her dog's name. I met her dog. Her dog's name is Saint. He's very cute and very awesome. Um, but I recognized it was hers. Okay, this is Moira's dog collar, and I had no idea she had even ever been to these woods before. And I texted her, and I sent a picture of her dog collar, and I said, how, or something like that, how. And she sent me a beautiful voice message back explaining that those woods are where she raised her puppy and where she's done grid work for years. And to
Sisters.
thank the land, yeah, to thank the land before she moved to Oklahoma, um, she buried the collar in the ground, buried it like deep, I'm assuming, right? And somehow it, yeah, it found me. Um, and occurrences like that, um, it felt like a baton passing almost
Yeah.
as she was moving, and
Yeah.
I was realizing and having this remembering that felt activated by her beautiful artwork and her code.
Wow. Amazing.
Um,
Amazing story.
yeah, it was unreal, and ever since then, occurrences like that happen almost every day, I want to say. Uh, so, as
Well,
someone who's just coming into all of this, huge gratitude
yeah. And I
for that
think this
truly.
this is this is it. Like listening to that story, it's fascinating, it's compelling, it's synchronistic, it's full of code, and this is there's no doctrine here. There's no dogma. It's just the story. But it's within these stories that are incredible that this whole energy is growing because it's happening to everybody. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? We think about waking up as disclosure and conspiracies that are true and whatever, but maybe it's something bigger than that. Being present with yourself and I don't even know how to explain it. Like I think like going to the woods is a good metaphor. Like when you go into the woods, uh, you become the woods, and the woods become you, kind of thing. Like it's an easier. You got a cicada, you got sounds, and I think somehow or another that innateness is is really sinking in now. This is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
All the dots connecting.
Emerging.
Yeah, all the dots
Mm,
connecting. Like
yeah.
even like watching you come into the field a few weeks ago, just by slight glances here and there, we pick up the frequency of the person. So by the time you come on, before the show started, we just started talking like as we have known each other for you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I bet the
Oh,
same was with
yeah.
I bet the same was with you and Maury. Although that feels like a deep sister kind of thing, like literally like the baton was passed. Like when you said she was just a few miles from me, I was just I could just see y'all like in the ethers, just doing your thing, setting everything up, and then it finally trickles down to the human experience.
It's so satisfying. It's a deep satisfaction, um, to rediscover the aspects of you through others, through these beautiful, mind blowing experiences that at least I never thought life could be this way. I never imagined it could be this magical. I knew it was supposed to be. I absolutely have felt that my entire life, and um, just the satisfaction that I get from all of this is unreal, and it continues to get better because as we have these conversations and we learn and we understand and the clarity comes online, there's nothing better than the clarity, you know,
Yeah.
because I can feel us all moving in a more efficient way every day,
It's
every
it's
day.
it's crazy because you can feel the sting, the sting, the charge, the pain, whatever you want to call it, but the sting, you can feel it leaving more and more and
Hmm.
more, no matter what, no matter what people are saying about anything. It's really really uh,
Yeah.
kind of like ironic or paradoxical, like the paradox where both are the same. Like it's this crazy thing. Like we're expanding so much, and it's almost like the outside world is like losing its voice or something.
Hmm.
Like it's just going away.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And the more, at least in my experience, that I'm creating and noticing what I'm creating and others are consciously creating, and that third energy
Yeah,
that happens when we do it together,
yeah,
um, that light, yeah, it blinds out whatever this is out here, right, even more. And I feel that every day, the increasing, the blanket of truth,
right.
it can't be, it can't be held back anymore, you know, and
Yeah, yeah. It's like
it just
bursting
is
out
what
of
it
us.
is.
It's the truth is here. It's bursting out.
Mhm.
Um,
I was able to speak with Keith Hill yesterday. This is
Man,
coming
I love
up.
this.
Yeah, he's awesome. Keith the Otter in Utopia. He We received a lot of clarity through our conversation yesterday, and I wanted to thank you, Todd,
Hmm.
for posting your sessions with
Hmm.
Morgan recently. And I think it was session 8 that was from 2 days ago, the sperm one.
Oh my God, that shit was crazy.
Yeah, that was huge. And him and I
uh,
were able to have a beautiful conversation about that yesterday on
hmm.
the phone about female roles and male roles. And essentially, what both of us extracted from that conversation and that process that you and Morgan so beautifully shared was that, at least this was my interpretation that I discussed with Keith, which was men, or the masculine, it feels like at this point, is being put in the position of having to go through what women go through.
Yeah.
And this may just be in regards to the story that he told and the situation that was presented to him or that he created to learn, right? When he was in Jupiter, Florida this past week, and he synchronistically met another member of Utopia,
Hmm.
which, for those that are not aware, is the world visionary artist Kate Lumley, that she is creating this
Heartist.
uh,
Heartist.
artist. Kate, the visionary artist, is creating and has created with over 150 of us beautiful individuals, some of us being from the Soulogy community. Um, but anyway, yeah, he met synchronistically one of our family members in a store that he happened to just pop into, walking with, his partner, and he was able to share a beautiful learning experience that had to very directly do with the conversation that you and Morgan had. Uh, the feminine, what I'm feeling come through is like the part that you guys discussed about the womb being thrust upon you. You know,
It stepped into
that's
me.
what I felt in his
I became
story.
the womb. it was,
Mm-hmm.
it was,
Normally
yeah.
it goes the other way around.
Well, yeah. Well, I think to me it felt like in those sessions, obviously, it's a what a snap an attempted alignment with what's occurring collectively, and it felt to me like a pole shift, right?
Hmm.
It felt like a pole shift. It felt like the
Yes.
reversal, almost like if you're like operating a system of gears like the inside of a watch, and all of a sudden it stops and starts to go the other way. Um,
Hmm.
and I think you know I've I've had my own insights, and a lot of the insights I've never really discussed uh, over the years because it happened a long time ago. But one of the things that I've always understood about myself is that I served a mother. All
Hmm.
memories that I have, I'm involved with the sisterhood or with protecting the secrets or just different things. But the point of it is energetically in this lifetime, this summary lifetime, it came to my attention when I reawoke. I'd say probably 2011, 2012. Uh, I realized that yeah, there were things that I set up and didn't know it, so that I could start to gain insight into what she has gone through in the human incarnation on this earth in this distortion. And that's some fucked up stuff too, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had to.
Thank you for that, by the way, too,
What
Todd.
for what?
Can
Hmm?
You can definitely see the depth of and feel the depth of the work you've done with your feminine and in the way that you hold space for
Hmm.
so many different types of women that are coming to this show, and women that have never felt confident to speak or
Yeah,
had the space to speak. And so thank you
yeah, you're
for
welcome.
that, because even just watching
Hmm.
you and Morgan facilitate the spaces for that to happen is super empowering. And yeah, it's
Well,
everything.
I mean that's really it's so funny because this like what you hear on those sessions that we do that was although we're consciously in session in those recordings, but you can tell there's a bit of a conversation happening too at times. But that's how we used to do it, and that's how the idea of this show came. Because I used to make videos by myself. I made like well over 1,000, and and then she said, maybe you ought to bring people on and talk to them and have conversations like this. I'm like, oh wow. So even like listening to you today, telling that story, uh, that's it. That's it right there. It's still the
Hmm.
same thing. It's still the same thing. And it's not the story as a victim, although it may be a story about the emotional impact and what it really feels like or felt like, because that's pure code. When people say, you know
Hmm.
what, I don't feel good, I'm hurting, I know what's wrong, I don't know what's wrong, the energy's kicking my ass. Some ETs came in my room last night. Two dragon faces showed up in my room last night, which was really weird. That happened to me last night. You
Last
know,
night.
yeah, and it was just like woke up, something's here. I smelt like something burning. I raise my head up. I look. I see two dragon heads, two dragons, basically the heads, part of the neck, and then boom, they're gone. I'm like,
Huh.
what the hell was that? But here
Maybe they were welcoming you to Aries season.
they could have been. Yeah, I just got a big feminine tone, something going on there.
You know,
But
Todd, when
things
you
like that
said
are.
that,
Okay, go ahead.
when you said the dragons, I thought Sophia, because the dragons to me are always attached to the energy of Sophia, and perhaps that's what you're feeling come through your ear.
Yeah, that makes sense to me because when that came through, this was after the session we did last night, which was mind blowing. That session last night, the session 9, was mind blowing. I told her when I got off, I said, "Man, I've never felt what I just felt," and I think the same went for. And so it was a session where, uh, and even after that, I received a bunch of coding from Morgan unexpectedly that was absolutely mind blowing. Uh, and so my takeaway is, even like hearing what you just said, and even hearing that feminine tone, which is a very high priestess tone. Um,
There it is.
yeah, the okay. So we heard years ago, Mama's back, the divine feminines landed, and there was this whole evolution that went on probably till 2019. Then they started talking about the masculine, and that was a slow rise, not in terms of linear time, but in terms of it just it was like hurry up, and we're like, what do we do? But what I'm saying is that it feels like now, like literally to me, like yesterday, like last night on that session last night, what's happening, what I'm picking up from other people, is she has come out now. She's not. She landed, and she was still in the background, and she was kind of like and apprehensive to step. She is out now. She's walking the earth with command. That's what I feel, and that in fact that's what I know. And I'm not going to say that's my truth though to myself. I know this, and
Oh,
so I saw the
okay.
force of that. I saw the force of that today, this morning. Uh, I mean, all I can say is I have no words. I can't even. All I can say, you could take all the mightiest, you could take all the armies in the world, all the nuclear bombs, you could take the whole thing, and put it on one side, and put this power, which is I can only describe as the mother, and she would just go, and they're all gone. I mean, the force of what I was given privy to, and again through the feminine incarnated in my life through Morgan, and as the individual goes, so goes the collective. So this shift's going down, or I should say, going up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And yeah, um, this morning, yesterday, the day before have been different.
Oh yeah.
And I know, we're going through this. It's a movie, right? Like every day. However, the past 3 days, and thank you for choosing this day to ask me to come on. 23 has been very important to me the past month and a half. I don't know if you had seen my message I wrote you about my magic chalkboard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had come up with this concept of a magic chalkboard 3 months ago when I found this chalkboard. It was like someone was throwing it away. And I had started watching Kate's videos, and I was inspired by her reharders and all the things around her home because she was doing sensory divination, like with little things around her home, and that resonated with me because I do that a lot too. So I found a chalkboard, and I felt called to glitter, like put glitter all over the outside. And the chalkboard told me, I'm going to be telling you things. There's going to be an oracle chalkboard, a magic chalkboard. I was like, all right, cool. Because the past year, I've also been playing with inanimate objects and the consciousness of them and the messages they have for me and conversations that I can have with things that, people don't necessarily think are alive, but are. Anyway, the first message and channeling that I had come through for that chalkboard was the one that I sent you. I forget the exact planets that were on it. I think it said Uranus 32 and Venus 23.
I think so. Yes, I think that's what it was. I'm going to check.
Yeah. And they asked to stay there for a while. Like they wanted to be on that chalkboard and sit there. I think it was for a month it was there because I just recently changed it to Ballerina Kangaroo, my Utopia character. Anyhow.
You're Ballerina Kangaroo?
Yeah, that's who I am in the world of Utopia. The Ballerina Kangaroo.
We are
from Australia.
Ballerina Kangaroo. Venus 32. Neptune 23.
Neptune.
Green, blue. Yeah, the green blue thing that came in that session last night. The green and blue.
The green and blue again.
Yeah, the green and the blue last night, and she had the meaning of it too. It's on the video, but yeah.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, that one last night was wild. I mean, that was. Oh, I remember saying this. I remember saying, because when we were in Hawaii, because when we were together, we did a lot of sacred sexual type of code recoding or something. And I'm not talking like tantric and stuff like that. I'm talking Hieroskamos. And there were 4 occasions that we had over a period of about 2 weeks. This was in 2019, and they were incredible. They were Hieroskamos in the physical. So imagine something like I'm in missionary with her, not moving at all for an hour and 45 minutes. Never move, and the Hieroskamos. But anyway, my point is in those 4 sessions, which obviously were in our, on our path to develop, to do like our own grid work or whatever you want to call it. The physical sensations and experiences were like nothing we ever experienced. Last night felt like that. So that means something, because last night was very much a collective, as so much of everything is becoming more and more obvious that it's a collective thing happening, and we're watching and experiencing at an individual level. And so, like you said, if you're aware, you can see what's going on. Like the micro is the macro, right?
Oh yeah, totally. And I see that, in the patterns, right? In the patterns, the spirals, the everyday interactions. I mean, it's almost funny some days, right? Where you'll have an interaction and it's the exact energy of macro or what's going on in your current relationship. And I find it very interesting. The Hieroskamos, that energy coming back for you guys last night, and you're saying that hadn't happened. Was it for 2 years that you hadn't felt that same exact signature of energy?
No, I don't think it was the same. I don't think it was the same exact signature. It could have been. I don't know, but it was. I think what we were doing in Hawaii, and we have other periods. Like I remember before she went back to Australia, we went through this period of weeks where our light bodies came out, and it would be like my masculine and her feminine. Then it was like her masculine and my feminine. Then it was like feminine, masculine. You know, it was this whole coding thing, you know, that I guess part of our purpose is to do that. But this I only meant this time in terms of the human experience. Like, you know,
Okay.
these are deep experiences anyway, but in terms of like, okay, I'm going to report to you from the front line here. What was it like at the human level? It was an ecstatic nature, but it was way beyond our sensations of intimacy. It was very. I believe there were some huge activations occurring with this 323, 23, 23. And
It's
you know,
111 right now
there
too.
you go.
Just of
See?
note.
And there you go. That X marks the spot.
Yeah. Timestamp. Ooh. Okay. That is very potent.
Look, I was talking to two guys the other night. I was over at this coffee shop, and they were hanging out with my daughter, and I just dropped in to have a double espresso and shoot the breeze with my daughter for a minute. So one of the guys asked me, "Oh, I hear you do this podcast," and then next thing you know, me and these two guys are talking, and one of them was very inquisitive, and I started speaking to him about I don't know, whatever. I mean, what we talk about here, but I was speaking to him about, I think it was because I think they had a question about manifesting and creative power. So I was just speaking to him about, you know, like the sacred sexual life force, the creative life force. We call it sacred sexual chi, kundalini, whatever, and the power that it actually is, the power of the womb that it is. And of course, offset by the distortion that this realm shoved down our throat, porn, etc., etc., etc. So the one guy looks at me, and I don't remember the details, but he looks at me and he goes, "I'm feeling something right now," and I'm like, "Okay, what are you feeling?" He goes, this is funny. He said, "I'm feeling something like coming up from down here. It's coming up." And I said, "You see, that's what it is." I said, "Now, we would feel that way, and we immediately think we got to do something. You know what I mean? Like physical, or I'm turned on. You know what I mean?" I said, "But this is what people are going to start to." But it actually happened right there in front of me in a 20-minute episode, right? I mean, I'm literally there. I order a double espresso, sit next to my daughter. These two dudes start talking to me. At 20 minutes later, I'm gone. And like you just said a minute ago, it was like you get it and then you experience it, right? Like you were saying a minute ago. Morgan says you experience, then observe, or you observe and experience. And if you think about that, that's the absolutely the way it works. And nobody observes it first all the time. Seems like you don't get to be an observer all the time. You're going to have to be an experiencer.
And it makes sense too, because it's like, how else would you live in faith, right? You know, we're not working with the manipulative thinking mind anymore. It's like we're either receiving the vision and then acting in that future now moment, or we're having the activating feeling and trusting in our process and discernment of that feeling and acting from that point. Unreal too, how you've tapped into the high priestess thing. I have the High Priestess Tarot card tattooed on the back of my leg.
Do you really?
She's very important to me. Yes, very important to me. Especially recently, since I've been working with Kate Lumley the visionary artiste, and she has invited me
Visionary
to
artiste.
explore
Is she a artiste
artiste.
now? I thought she was a artist. Now she's a artiste. Oh, she's got a little French
She's
in
a
her now.
hot
She's got a little
French.
French in her now. Okay.
Oh my gosh, Paris. Yeah.
What
Oh,
about because when I look at you, I can for me, obviously very organic, earthly, but I just like see elemental written all over you, like
hmm
maybe because I'm big in the forest too. I love being in, just walking and walking, which is not so easy to do here. Although it's an old neighborhood, there's a lot of trees, which makes it cool. But do you have those types of experiences? Have you had encounters or communion or communication with elementals as the type of experiences you've had with Star Family?
Yes, yes. And it's been very fun because they show themselves like in a similar way that the interdimensional ask to be videoed. Like they'll be like, video me, I'm here, video me. It's the same way with the elementals in the woods. So yeah, I'll be walking around and I'll have an overwhelming feeling of just like and there's a specific one for each type. So it's like, you know, a leprechaun energy comes in and it's like I can feel the naughty,
Mm-hmm.
kind of, I don't know. So working
Fairies
with
are that way too. Fairies can be that way too.
fairies,
Yeah.
yes. And I think the most fun I've been having with that when I've been in the woods is the videoing and then looking at the videos and receiving the code essentially because it's the combination of the color and the sound and a multitude of other things that are happening in that time space moment. So I think for me, what makes it make most sense and most fun is to video or take photographs and then look. Um, but they're funny too, like, what we appreciate. So the more that I've been hanging out in the woods and interacting with these energies the past few years, um, I've been drawn to more books and learning about them. And they present themselves in the most hilarious ways. Like, for example, the other day, I have it right here. I can show you. I always roll around with books. The World Guide to Gnomes, Fairies, Elves, and Other Little People.
Are you kidding me? Read us some.
Okay, let's ask what Soulogy needs to hear. So, uh, but the story I was going to tell just really quick. The other day, I always put my hand on my heart, ask what I need to learn here. And a few days ago, it was brownies. Like, you know how in Girl Scouts they have like the different levels of it, and one of them
Yeah.
is called brownies.
Yeah, my sister was a
I used
brownie.
to be a brownie,
So did my
and I was
sister.
always interested. Yeah, it's like, okay, well, what is this brown? Like, why do they call them brownies? A brownie is a type of elf. It's a it's like a race of elf. And the funny
Mm.
thing is, so you know how I said they come through in the most hilarious ways? Well, they came through my boyfriend. That day I read about the brownies. I went to the woods. I videoed a few of what I believe to be the brownies, and then I forgot that I had even read this, and I'm craving sweets later. I love sweets, um, and brownies specifically. And later, my boyfriend comes home and he brings me brownies. And this has happened many times where they'll come through him because he's
Mm-hmm.
not into any of this. Um, so it makes it extra special. when and funny when they work through other people. Yeah, super fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. No, and so
Okay, so the page.
yeah.
What were you gonna say?
No, I was just following up on your remark. You said your boyfriend is not into any of this stuff. That must be an interesting coexistence. Well, but you know, to that point, a lot of the women that have come on here that are say something similar, they'll also say that like he's very supportive. He's actually he's actually onto it, but he doesn't know it, or something like that.
Oh yeah, that's exactly where Nick is at, and because he understands what's going on. It's not like he didn't go get the jab or anything. He, yeah, I think it's one of those things. The masculine, the women are doing it first,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just at least the way I've experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, that's
so,
true. That's true.
yeah, I can kind of clearly see um, that everyone's going to end up in the same place,
Yeah,
essentially, is how I feel, and we all
yeah.
go at different times. And the part of the journey of strengthening our capacity to love lies within pre-selecting this relationship before I came, and knowing at that time that we would be at different points, and growing here, um, by not just giving up on something necessarily because it appears to be difficult at the time, but also using discernment and knowing, um, it's like the Wild West now, and things are changing.
Hmm.
And yeah, but it's something that a lot of us are going through for sure with our significant others.
Oh, I think yeah. Last year was tough on the individuals and everything. But yeah, a lot of couples took time apart. Son never came back. But it's like we're. I think people get confused sometimes, and I heard it in what you said, because you made a good point, which is that well, sometimes we think when we're letting go of things, we're letting go of someone, but we're actually letting go of what's not going with us. So that could be in myself. It could be in my relationship. It could be in my business. It could you know I mean it's there's something there's a whatever's here with us now. You can almost look around and go, yeah, we made it, because that was an MFER. I love 2022, but I'm crazy.
Like don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Well, because look, oneness is oneness. If you're not going to come into equilibrium now with anything, anyone, whatever, you're going to have to eventually. So if you want to put it off, that's fine. That's perfect. That's a free will choice. But the energies
Hmm.
are supporting that the intention of unity and oneness. And I know that sounds cliche-ish,
Yeah,
but it's a fact. There's too much
true.
evidence. There's too much
And one of
evidence
the
of that.
beautiful things too that has to do with this that Keith and I both recognized in
Mm.
sharing stories about living with and being with partners who are maybe at a different vibrational point or frequency point, was that things are occurring that, like, myself or Keith is attracting, such as him running into his utopia friend with his beloved in Florida. These these occurrences and divine orchestrations are happening in front of our beloveds, and they can't be denied. So it's not like we even really have to try. It's not like we have to convince anyone of anything. The energy is showing itself uh, through life, through experiences, and I love that because I'm one of those people. Like, I don't feel called to get on a podium and convince people to wake up. Like, And it's just beautiful to see that the energy is doing that itself, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
Super
That's
cool.
true. That's true.
Hmm.
Yeah, it just Julie Dara Roberts was on yesterday, and she explained it really well. But in the in the first 15, 20 minutes of the show, with her, with the way she does it, and basically, from I call it the spirit scientific level, or she's a cosmologist, but basically saying that because she was speaking from an energy standpoint, like, and she said
Hmm.
basically, even if we wanted, if we wanted to, we can't stay, quote unquote, down there anymore, because the stuff that's there is heavy and it's just gonna fall. It's just can't stick to us. We're too light,
Mm.
and so
Yep.
what does that look like? That looks like I forget who the other one was on. We had a couple of good shows yesterday, and but it looks like like she talked about, and the other person talked about, whoever it was, how these things keep coming up. Like, you know what I mean? Like these, like the deeper
Yes.
layer, the one that was
Yes.
under the ground that you didn't know about. And it's not like they're
Yeah.
nasty. It's not like they're nasty and gross, and obviously they're not pleasant memories from the old perspective. But I guess what I'm saying is we know the value of it now. You know, like I 3 nights ago on the session, I didn't mention it. I didn't say what I saw in the session, but it was, I think, the night you were talking about, number eight, and somehow or another I had this whole womb experience, and then I was asked, or I was shown something which was from a man's point of view in regard to another man, the most heinous, worst thing that father energy could do to his son. It was like, whoa, like, where did that come from? And then I was asked, like, are you that man? And then I was asked, and if you are that man, you are every man. And I said, I'm that man. And then I guess that was the right answer, because then other things started to happen. But yeah, yeah, I think you're definitely, like, on the masculine part of it, you're definitely on point. Like you I think you read that right. Um, like real time intel. So read us a little something. I'm going to see what that's about.
Okay. So the page that has been brought for Soulogy today is a story. It's on page 286, and it's called The Grant.
Hmm.
There is, says he, again, in England, a certain kind of demon, whom in their language they call Grant, like a yearling foal, erect on its hind legs, with sparkling eyes. This kind of demon often appears in the street in the heat of the day or about sunset. If there is any danger impending on the following day or night, it runs about the streets, provoking the dogs to bark, and by feigning flight, draws the dogs after it in the vain hope of catching it. This illusion warns the inhabitants to beware of fire, and the friendly demon, while he terrifies those who see him, puts by his coming the ignorant on their guard. Thus far the Chancellor of the Holy Roman Empire, and except in the poets we have met with no further account of, or allusion to, fairies until the reign of Elizabeth, when a little work appeared named The Mad Pranks and Merry Jests of Robin Goodfellow, from which Shakespeare seems in a good measure to have derived his puck. Do a couple more sentences. This work consists of two parts. In the first, we are informed that Robin was the offspring of a proper young wench by a he fairy, a king or something of that kind among them. By the time he was 6 years old, he was so mischievous and unlucky that his mother found it necessary to promise him a whipping. He ran away and engaged with a tailor, from whom also he soon eloped. When tired, he sat down and fell asleep, and in his sleep he had a vision of fairies. And when he awoke, he found lying beside him a scroll, evidently left by his father, which in verses written in letters of gold, there we go, informed, sorry, letters of gold informed him that he should have anything he wished for, and have also the power of turning himself to horse, to hog, to dog, to ape, etc. But he was to harm none but knaves and queens, and was to love those that honest be, and help them in necessity. He made trials of his power and found that he really possessed it.
That's pretty cool. Where'd you find that?
It was actually, it belonged to my mother's best friend Norma Barnes, who passed away a couple of years ago.
See, there you go.
And
she left
yeah,
you. She left
I
you a
came out
cookie.
to Houston.
Oh, you still have family?
Yeah.
You still have family in Houston?
Yes, yeah.
Cool.
My parents are still out there. All my brothers and sisters.
They
everybody.
all out in Bel Air?
Just one of my brothers is in Katy. The other one's in. He's more in Houston. My sister's in. Where is she? Austin. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, cool. Very cool, man. Hey, this has been awesome. What a way to start the day. Jessica Black in the house. What do we got on the calendar? We have the Pluto in Aquarius session to be led by Ty Hudnall. I will be present. It is at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We have a Soulogy Network sneak peek tomorrow at noon New York City time, 6 p.m. London, 3 a.m. I think Brisbane. And we're going to show you some stuff and have a big announcement. So thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you, Jessica. I look forward to
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I look forward to many future collaborations. I can see you're the real deal. And thank you, Kate Lumley, for your utopic presence and for connecting more dots. I'll see you later. Peace out.
Love you guys.
Take care.